Hello and welcome back to the CQC video tutorial series. This is the second video. In the first video, we introduced you to the installer and we got the product installed, and we installed all of the components on this one machine, which is an appropriate configuration for what we're going to do for the rest of the tutorial. In this video, what we're going to do is take our first steps towards configuring CQC. And what we're going to be doing is installing device drivers. Before we do that, I'll take a brief sidebar here about device drivers. I won't get into too much depth because there's plenty of written technical documentation on the website, but just to make sure that you understand what's about to happen here. Device drivers are a concept that would be used in pretty much any automation system. They might be called something different, like a plug-in or an adapter, something of that nature. But it is a little piece of software that sits between each device and the automation system. And what it does is it translates from a kind of internal lingua franca of the automation system, which is trying its best to present you with a consistent and easily usable means of dealing with all the devices that you want to control, and the external view, which is all the specific nitty-gritty details of each individual device. You definitely would not want to have to deal with all the quirks of every device as you're setting up your automation logic. So all automation systems are going to have some internal virtualized view of devices, and that is represented by device drivers, one of which you install for each device that you want to control. For the purposes of this tutorial, we don't want to have to deal with any real devices, because that would mean that every one of you would have to, at this point, figure out how to get your devices hooked up, and everyone would be dealing with different devices than what I will be using here in the tutorial. So in order to be consistent, what we've done is provide a simple device simulator, which is just a little program that acts like various devices. And there's a device driver that comes with CQC that talks to this device simulator, and we'll be using that in the tutorial. There are also a set of individual device simulators that simulate specific types of devices, like a lighting system, an audio player, a security system, and so forth. And those you would probably want to use if you're setting up an in-the-field demo for customers, because they're a lot more open-ended and flexible. But for our tutorial purposes here, the little device simulator driver works well enough and is a lot easier to deal with, because we only have to have one device driver. So let's go ahead and install that. You install device drivers using the CQC administrative interface. This is where you do all of your most fundamental system configuration. So we want to run that. And since we're still in trial mode, it's going to ask you to register. Just either hit escape or press do it later. And let's log in. And this is where you'll use the default admin account that was set up during installation, and use your whatever password that you set up. Since this is the very first time we've run it, it's going to ask us for our longitude and latitude. And we need to do this because CQC has to do various things that are related to sunrise and sunset. So there's a list of major cities. I'm going to pick San Jose, which is the one closest to me. Let's accept that, and I'll size this down to fit here. So what we want to do is use this little control panel button here, which says administer server drivers. You can also get to it through the administer server management menu up here. And since CQC is a distributed product, you can have multiple machines out on your network that are hosting drivers. In this case, we only have one because we have only installed one system. So we'll select that. And what you see is the drivers that are installed on the selected host, and some various statistics over here, which we won't discuss in this video. Those are covered elsewhere. And we don't see any drivers because we've not added any yet. So let's add a driver. And this particular one is the CQC device simulator. So select that one, and we need to enter a moniker. Every driver has a unique name. There's some discussion about this in the technical documentation, so you won't get deeply into it, but just make sure that it's unique within your entire network. For our purposes, DevSim is fine, whatever you'd like to call it. But if you call it DevSim, then your examples will be like mine, so probably best to do that. There can be other information that's asked here, but this is a very simple device driver. It doesn't really need to know anything else, so it doesn't ask us any more information. So we just get a summary. So hit continue, and now you see it show up in the list. If you look down here in the lower right, you'll see that the driver state is waiting for connect because it's out there looking for the thing it's supposed to be talking to, and we haven't run the device simulator yet. So let's do that. We need to open up the CQC command prompt. This is not in the start menu since it's not something that normally you would run. It's just for our kind of tutorial purposes. So if you look in here, there should be a dev sim program here. Yep, so just run CQC dev sim, and that will come up, and it just provides you with the ways to set various little bits of information that would kind of emulate a small system. And now if we go back over to our administrative interface, you see it says connected to device because it's now connected to that little program and it's talking to it. And basically, that's it. When you install device drivers, you'll give it a moniker. Usually, you will have to configure something to do with a serial port or a socket, a network socket. However, the driver has to talk to the device. And in many cases, you'll be asked various pieces of information. For instance, if it were a multi-zone audio controller, it might ask you, how many zones do you have, that kind of thing. So the information requested will vary, but it's all documented in the individual device driver pages on the website. So effectively, configuring device drivers is just more of the same of what we just did. And once those device drivers are in place, then you can move on to setting up CQC to allow you to control and interact with those devices, which is what we'll get into in the videos that are coming up. So we'll leave it at that for now, and we'll see you in the next video.